One of the hallmarks of people on the spectrum is limited or narrowed interests. Does this description fit you, and what are your main interests?
Yes. 1,000,000%. So
I'm going to check the timer, make sure we're still recording. Please go ahead.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it kind of depends. Like, I've had, I guess, on again, off again interests for a long time. Used to be, like, really interested in, like, sharks, dinosaurs from, Jurassic Park. Although I think everybody has a point where they're interested in dinosaurs. At least all the boys did. And then recently it's, like, been both the NFL and Marvel, like I've mentioned already a couple times. Like, I can make pretty clear comparisons between, like, oh, this is similar to this movie or this NFL game because so-and-so and so-and-so.
Yeah.
And that actually helps me a lot because as a trivia player, you occasionally get questions about some of the stuff you've been interested in. So taking that, like, healthy curiosity towards really everything to some degree can be a real asset.
Yeah, I've been impressed because there were things when you were younger you had no interest in whatsoever. You were more focused on your limited interest, but because trivia became your thing,
I had to learn about everything.
You had to learn about everything, and I was like, yes, praise the Lord. Movies that I couldn't get you to watch when you were younger, or books you didn't want to read. I mean, you started reading Shakespeare recreationally.
Yeah, I need to get back to that.
Yeah, I mean, you were talking books that were like this big. You were just like, yeah, I'll just read those in my spare time, because
trivia. And the other thing is, like, when it wasn't, at least in that example of Shakespeare, when it wasn't, like, required of me, like, it wasn't a textbook, so I didn't have to, like, bounce between the Old English and the translation, and I just had the Old English. I did have to decipher it, but I'm smart enough, and I guess my grasp of the English language is good enough that I could really take that part and say, okay, this is happening, this is happening, this is happening, without needing, like, that translation that you get in a high school textbook. And without the requirement to do it, and I can do it on my own free time, that also really helped.
That's true, too. Did your love of Latin roots help you with that?
Not really. There weren't a whole lot of words that were used. It was just, like, sentence structure.
So, okay. Very cool. And you did mention NFL, but I know you went through a passionate phase of fantasy football.
Fantasy football, yeah. And I still actually am kind of in that passionate phase. I just don't really play it, but I still, think about it a lot.
Yeah, yeah. Your brother went through a phase where he was a piano player. He was self-taught, and he burned through that. Now never touches the piano anymore. He also went through a phase where he was a chess player, burned through that, doesn't touch that anymore. It's almost like sometimes I feel like those phases are just passionate interest for X amount of time, and then they move on.
Absolutely.
Then you move on. So, is it difficult making friends? How do you make friends? And if you didn't have friendships in your earlier years, what was the most difficult part of that?
Oh, well, I think that's pretty simple. The key is just to force yourself into the lives of everyone around you until someone inevitably accepts you. Like, that was kind of what I did for my freshman year of college. I hung out in the lounge a lot.
Yes.
Because, like, we didn't have, like, a TV or cable connection, so I just watched, like, Jeopardy and Chain Reaction and Wheel of Fortune in the lounge. I accumulated a decent reputation for being really good at game shows, but I also basically met almost everybody who lived there, just because everybody was in the lounge at one point or another, and I was almost always there.
And that's what, for years and years, your father and I would say, Brian, life's not happening in the living room. Come out, go for a walk with us, or come out, let's go for...
And then life happened in the living room. Bitch!
The common room is not the living room.
It's basically the living room.
If you stayed in your dorm, you would not have met all those people.
I was in my dorm.
No, you were in the common room.
In my dorm.
In the building, but not in your dorm room.
Oh, dorm room. You didn't say that.
Because your dorm room is analogous to our little living room in our house.
It really isn't. Dorm room is kind of shitty and small.
Un poquito. Just saying. Getting out there and being around
The
people.
more similar thing to the living room was honestly the lounge. Especially because you had, like, a small kitchen
and
attached to it.
But I would say that I am glad that you got out there, even if it was just to be in a room that had a TV.
Yeah.
I'm very thankful because that opened you up to meeting people who you probably are still in touch with.
Yeah.
4 years later as you're getting ready to graduate.
Definitely.
All right. Well, we've got a few more questions. Let's see. What were some things your parents did well and not so well? Tips for parents. Ask you, please, what parents could do better.
Oh, God. I have to think of what my parents did well?
This could take us the rest of the afternoon.
Yeah. Well, no, I don't have enough time to think of that. Trying to think.
You want to come back to this one, or you want?
No, we'll just need to. I'll need to think about that during the movie. Thanos slips on a banana peel. Mom, I finally thought of it. Sorry. No, I'd say I guess the thing you guys did the most well is being at least semi-understanding of, my condition. And, we did butt heads a lot because, you were among the people who thought by being older you were, better than I was. But, you eventually learned, yeah, I might think that, but, he knows that's not the case, so I cannot go about that business anymore.
So basically, you trained me.
Yes.
So I was trainable. That's one of the things.
Exactly, yeah.
That you like that I did that helped.
I mean, the thing is, it's better to have, for the parent to, I guess, at least in my opinion, it's better for the parent to be able to bend a little bit than to have 18 years of constant clashes.
Yeah. And we learned that with our floor time approach. I don't know if you remember Dave Nelson and the learning on the log, and that wasn't always your favorite activities, but that kind of approach where they're trying to join you in what you're interested in instead of forcing you to do something that... And that's one of the reasons we joined you in fantasy football, and then our entire house was playing fantasy football because we took the approach that things that you're interested in, it's easier for us to jump into that, and then we can connect over that than it is to try to force you to do something that you're not interested in.
Exactly. I'm not sure if this is just the hallmark of Asperger's or just because it's me, but I'm a bit of a stubborn asshole. So you basically have two options regarding me. You could either bend a little bit when, I needed you to bend, or you could, get in constant arguments with me because I was not going to capitulate very frequently. I could do it from time to time, but not, all the time.
Right.
And then the thing that you could have done better, and I know it was, in our case, it was just sort of circumstantial, and it just had to happen, but I would have liked a little bit of consistency to, have stayed in Georgia, gone to Maryland and stayed in the same town for longer, something like that. Mm-hmm. So I can develop those friendships or I could have developed those friendships that I otherwise didn't really have.
And I absolutely 100% understand that, and I just want you to know it, because I don't know that we've ever had this conversation, but the only reason we moved from Georgia to Maryland
was for Pop's job.
Was for his job, because I was kicking and screaming. I did not want to come here.
I know.
But his job moved here, and that was it. He was the primary breadwinner, and we were going to have to move. And so we did extensive research and found out that Columbia, Maryland had a great reputation for schools for children with autism.
Could fool me.
That was a bunch of inquiry and research and all, and that's why we ended up there. So we landed there, and then found out we couldn't afford to ever buy a house there. So
the apartment was nice, though.
We did rent an apartment there for a year and a half, and then we found out the price of housing was just, and that's why we ended out on the Eastern Shore.
That's fine.
And then, but I understand that.
I mean, I eventually, found those people, but it would have been easier if we were just, in one place.
Yeah. The other thing I would say that I think that we did well that you may not have known because it was kind of more behind the scenes is advocate.
Yeah, so the IEP meetings. You mentioned that a lot. I'm yeah, that did help.
You've got to be up in the front asking for whatever your kids need.
You cannot... This is the case for most parents, but especially for parents with special needs, kids. You cannot be a passenger in your child's life. You need to be driving where it's going, what needs to happen.
Exactly. And I think that's very well said. All right. Let's talk about girls. Somebody wanted to know.
Next question.
Somebody wanted to know, have you ever been in love?
No.
No. Okay.
No.
And I know from just you and I talking that you've had a couple of not great experiences. Like if you've asked somebody out, maybe they've declined or something. But I keep telling you that is going to happen. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah, I'll believe that when I see it.
Well, I really believe that will happen.
There's some areas where I have room for optimism based on historical experiences. Stuff like that. Places where, I know I'm capable of this because I've done this thing in the past.
Yeah.
Not this. There's no historical precedent that this is ever going to be a possibility, which is why I laughed so hard when you suggested kids a little bit earlier, because what evidence is there that that's ever going to happen?
Well, I happen to know, this is what I used to say about you. Intellectually, you were like way up here.
Mm-hmm.
Impulse control, I used to say, no offense, that you had impulse control of a gnat.
A gnat? You couldn't think of any animal with less impulse control? Do gnats even have no impulse control?
I don't know, I just thought, intellectually...
Attention span of a gnat is the thing, but impulse control?
I don't know, it was what came to me. But I always thought that your emotional maturity was somewhere in between. So you were like, you weren't on grade or age level.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I always got frustrated, because I wanted you to be able to go to camp with people who were like 3 years younger than you. Because I felt like that was the maturity level that you could have related to them on a friendship social level. Not intellectually, because remember, you were reading at a college level when you were like 8.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, not intellectually. But anyway, I guess what I'm getting at here is I have faith that while other people may be getting into their first serious relationships or whatever, it's going to happen for you. Just maybe a couple of years behind.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right. We'll check back with me in a couple of years and see. How did it affect you having a brother on the autism spectrum, and how would you describe your relationship with him today?
I don't know if it's really affected me all that much, but I would say that I don't want to like sound arrogant or anything.
Say it, because I'm going to say it if you don't.
I feel like I've had arguably the biggest role in, shaping his life, his social status, I guess. And
him coming out of his autism.
Yeah, him coming out of that shell, because he used to be a lot more withdrawn, I guess, than he is right now. And part of it is because, I helped socialize, and part of it is because, I knew what bothered him, so I, blackmailed him with something that bothered him a lot to make him do something that stopped bothering him very little.
100%. You were, and still are, probably one of the main reasons that he is doing as well as he's doing today. And do you mind if I ask you to put that down just because it's rattling?
Yeah,
I'm
there's no water in here and I'm shaking it.
And I'm having a sensory issue with it.
Sorry.
Thank you. No, but seriously, you would not take no for an answer, and you would insist on something, and he would just have to toe the line, and kind of, you just pulled him.
Yeah.
You pulled him. You just wouldn't let him be in the shell. And so
And even to this day, I insisted that we have the same apartment on Salisbury's campus in his freshman year, and he doesn't. Freshmen usually don't get this get to live in this apartment building. But I'm like, okay, if anybody can help acclimate Evan to college life,
yes,
it is going to be me, and it is going to be my roommates, because we are understanding of where he's coming from.
And I think that has made the biggest difference in him at first year of college, y'all being willing to work with him and to do that. But I've always thought it in my head as big brother therapy, and he's had it since the time he was born.
Yeah.
I don't think you looked at him as anything different for the first, I don't know how many years before you realized he even had anything going on. Do you remember?
Or at least, I think I might have realized he had something going on, but I didn't think it should hold him back all that much, because it hasn't held me back, is the thing.
Right. And now you're old enough to know that you're...
Again, like I mentioned earlier, it's a spectrum, so he was a little bit farther on it than I was.
Yeah.
But it was still important to, do what I did.
Y'all are pretty close today, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's going to miss you when you're in Scotland for graduate school. All right, and speaking of, you're graduating from college in a month from the honors program. You're in Mensa. You hang out on Facebook and conferences with some of the world's top trivia minds. You're heading off to graduate school in Scotland. What are some of your best memories from the last 10 years or so?
I gotta say one of my best memories is probably my... probably from last March, when my team Palante won the inaugural team event at the America's Quizzing Championships.
In Las Vegas.
In Las Vegas, yeah, because I managed to get this, gold medal from it. And don't get me wrong, I was not the key contributor on this team. I got a couple of questions here and there, but I was kind of along for the ride as well, and it was such a great feeling when we ultimately came out on top.
That was a good memory for you.
Yeah, that was terrific. And then the other thing was, like, learning I had passed the men's admissions test. Because, like, I just wanted to see, like, more or less where my IQ fell, because I was always kind of curious about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I realized, I got the email that basically said, oh, hey, you made it. I'm like, what? Okay.
That's a good memory, too, for sure. We've traveled a lot. Do you have any vacation memories? I don't think you've enjoyed... You know, your brother Evan has always been more into the travel aspect.
Yeah, he has.
Traveled all over the place over the years. Do you have any vacation memories that stick out?
Not particularly. I mean, I like my study abroad in the UK when I went to London. That was really fun. That's part of why I'm going back. That's the main reason why I'm going back to Scotland, honestly, because, again, UK. And then Mexico was kind of fun as well, to going for last spring break.
Oh, and mentioning your study abroad in London made me think back on your sink or swimness, if you will. Because when right before you went off to your freshman year of college, they said, hey, everybody that's coming to Salisbury University, we invite all of you guys to do an outdoor experience, to go rafting with a group, or to go camping with a group, or hiking with a group. We have these groups, and sign up for one of these. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm going to have to go pick him up the first night. There's no way he's going to be able to make it through this. Was it a 3-night experience?
3 or 4. Might have been 4.
In a camping, in a tent, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was just waiting for the call. And no, you went off and you were like, oh, well, that's what I'm supposed to do. And you just did it. And then they asked parents not to come until parent weekend, which was like 10 weeks into college. Like, don't come visit your kids. Don't bring your kids home until like 10 weeks in. I was like, 10 weeks? He's never been away for 2 nights. There's, this camping thing was the longest thing he ever went on. There's no way 10 weeks is going to have. You were like, yeah, you can come for parent weekend if you want. I don't really care.
Yeah.
I was like, what? What is going on? And then you said, I'm going to study abroad. I want to study in London for a semester. And I was like, yeah, right. And then not only did you do all the paperwork, get a scholarship, go over there, and you thrived. You went to all these pub trivia events. You went to all the museums, and you just explored the town. You conquered the tube system like nobody's business. I was so impressed. And it just occurred to me that you're very much a sink or swim person. When it comes to, when the rubber meets the road, you do it.
Yeah.
You do it. So, what advice would you offer for others that are living with ASD or Asperger's?
That's the question?
Yeah.
That's very broad.
Was there anything you would just like to say, like if somebody's watching this and they're like much younger in their journey, or a parent that's watching and thinking, how can I help, how can I help my child?
I like to say find your tribe, like we mentioned earlier. It can be very hard for somebody like me to actually make friends to connect with someone.
Yeah.
But once I realized, okay, I like trivia, for example. I went out, I did that, I found some people, and I actually have a relationship with some of them, so that was fun. Actually, going back to another proud moment, also learning that I got the job as a question writer for that Australian quiz show also made me super proud.
Yes.
That was a good moment, but yeah, finding your people is probably the best thing, and I don't trivia or, I don't know, some mathletes.
Yeah.
A sporting team, I don't know what you like, but whatever you like, look for that club, look for that connection.
For sure.
Because that is how you're gonna, meet people with the same interest. And once you find people with that same interest, then you can start, talking about other things as well.
So if it's chess, or if it, like you said, mathletes, or maybe you want to be in the drama, maybe you're interested in drama or whatever, find that group, whether it be in school or outside of school, somehow. And in this day and age of computers, you can Google and find almost anybody that likes something similar to you anywhere, really. Yeah. And if you can't find them just locally to go hang out, you can start an online group. I mean, you really can.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there anything else that you would like to share?
I think that's basically everything. If you got any more questions for me, I'm always happy to take them.
Okay.
But in terms of stuff that immediately comes to mind, I think we've basically discussed everything.
I'm so proud of you. Thank you for doing this.
Yeah, my pleasure.
I am so proud of you. All right, shall we go see Avengers Endgame?
Let's go.
Let's go.